From IBMTV International Broadcast Media, this is your report from Washington. 11 days, people. From AP, the final debate was a brief interlude of normalcy in an otherwise highly abnormal year. Trump and Biden spent 90 minutes sparring over the pandemic, health insurance, and who can de-escalate nuclear tensions with North Korea. A mute button helped enforce decorum. Trump entered behind in the polls, and this was his last stab at a dramatic turnaround. But with nearly 50 million ballots already cast, it was clear that a more civilized debate alone would not do the trick. Trump insisted that the country needed to, quote, learn to live with the virus and suggested his rival would damage the economy by taking drastic steps. Biden warned of a, quote, dark winter to come, with cases already on the rise in the U.S. as the weather cools. Citing over 200,000 American fatalities, Biden said anyone who's responsible for that many deaths should not remain as president of the United States. Biden added, I will end this. I will make sure we have a plan. In other news, U.S. regulators on Thursday approved remdesivir, an antiviral medicine given to hospitalized patients through an IV. The drug cut the time to recovery by 5 days, according to a study by NIH. However, last week, a large study by the World Health Organization found the drug didn't help at all. On to more white-collar drug pushing. Fallout from Purdue OxyContin scandal and settlement. From AP, Walmart is suing the United States government in a preemptive strike in the battle over its responsibility in the opioid abuse crisis. The government is expected to take civil action against the world's largest retailer, seeking big financial penalties for the role its pharmacies have played in the crisis by filling opioid prescriptions. But Walmart filed a lawsuit saying that the Justice Department and the DEA are blaming the company for the government's own lack of regulatory and enforcement policies to stem the crisis. Walmart operates more than 5,000 pharmacies in its stores around the country. Now, the cascading effects of Google. The FTC's 5 commissioners met to discuss a potential case against Facebook Thursday afternoon, though a final decision isn't expected for several weeks. The Thursday's meeting came 2 days after the Justice Department filed an antitrust lawsuit against Google, and as coalitions of state attorneys general are weighing whether to bring their own complaints against the search giant. Facebook ranks second behind Google in claiming a share of revenue from the online advertising market. In world news, the promise of free COVID-19 vaccinations has become a key issue in state elections in India. India's finance minister made the promise when releasing the ruling Hindu Nationalist Party's manifesto for elections that begin next week. In the state of Bihar, every resident will be given a vaccination for free when the vaccines become available, she said, adding at least 3 vaccines are in the final trial stage and are on the cusp of production in the country. The promise angered the Congress and other opposition parties who accused Prime Minister Modi's party of politicizing the pandemic and playing on fears of people. Bihar is India's 3rd largest state with about 122 million people. Elsewhere, South Korea recorded its highest increase in COVID cases in more than 40 days on Friday. The 155 cases brought the national caseload to over 25,000, including over 400 deaths. Ahead of the Group of 20's summit next week, Secretary General Antonio Guterres said in an interview with the Associated Press that he hopes the international community now understands they need to be much more coordinated in fighting the virus. In a sign of the times, the best exchange of the debate, Trump, talking about race relations, said, quote, nobody has done more for the black community than Donald Trump, with the exception of Abraham Lincoln. Well, possible exception. I'm the least racist person in this room, end quote. Biden reported sarcastically, referring to Trump, quote, Abraham Lincoln here is one of the most racist presidents we've had in modern history, end quote. Finally, the current COVID death toll from Johns Hopkins is over 223,051 American souls lost and 1,137,825 global souls lost with no vaccine in sight. That is your report for October 23rd, 2020 from IBM TV, International Broadcast Media, smart televisions for a smarter global community, from dictatorships to democracies around the world. Good morning, good afternoon, good night. I'm Bill Trezevant.